week 9, got some good games in college football. Let's start with number 6, Michigan, heading to East Lansing to take on the undefeated number 8, Michigan State Spartans. Both teams going to want to run the rock. Michigan with Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. Michigan State going to feed Kenneth Walker III, who is an absolute stud. I don't think Michigan State is going to have a ton of success on the ground, though. That Michigan defense, man, I've watched quite a bit of them. They're solid. I mean, you look at it, they're actually second in the country. Everyone's talking about Georgia's defense. Michigan is actually second in the country in scoring defense behind Georgia. Now, there's a huge gap there, but it's like 8 points difference. But they're a good group, man. And Aiden Hutchinson is an absolute problem at defensive end. I just don't see Peyton Thorne making a ton of plays in the passing game for Michigan State. I looking at the Michigan side of things offensively, I have not been overly impressed with Cade McNamara at quarterback for the Wolverines, but Michigan State does have the worst pass defense in the entire Big Ten. So I feel like guys like Cornelius Johnson and Dalen Baldwin should be able to make a couple plays in this one for Michigan. Listen, Mel Tucker is doing a great job there. He's really utilized the transfer portal. I think people are going to try to copy what he has done. It's a great season so far for the Spartans. But when you look at it, they're undefeated. They haven't beat a single team with a winning record. I just don't think they've played anyone as close to as good as Michigan. I like Michigan pretty comfortably in this one. I'm picking Jim Harbaugh to win a big game. I know what I'm doing.
That's the hard thing is I agree that pretty much everything in this game tells you Michigan. But Harbaugh and Michigan's record in big games, top 10 teams, it is not very good at all. I think Mel Tucker gets it done. I'm taking the upset here. I just being at home, there's something to be said about a group coming together and playing better than maybe what they envisioned, and the amount of buy-in you get in those type of situations, especially over a game like this. This game will mean more to Michigan State than it has in a long time. And that's going to make it a whole lot of fun. And I think it's going to be an ugly football game, which, both of those teams can live and feel very, very comfortable in an ugly football game. But I think Michigan State edges it out. It's going to be low scoring, but it's probably going to come down to some serious drama at the end.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see if a punter drops the ball. We'll see if that
gonna be nervous.
It is interesting though. You got 2 7-0 football teams, number 6 versus number 8 in the country, 11 a.m. Central kick. Now 12 there, noon kickoff there, but it's just weird. Like, that happens around here. People lose their minds. Everyone in the Big Ten's like, it gets pretty cold at night. Yeah, let's play that sucker at 11 a.m. We're good.
Yeah, it's going to be a great environment though. It's going to be a cool game.
Yeah, I think game day and big noon kickoff both there. So that's a big one. All right, number 10.
Big Ten's about to get the rest of the season's going to be awesome in the Big Ten.
Oh yeah, big time games now and throughout the month of November. That's going to be fun. Okay, number 10, Ole Miss at number 18, Auburn. Ole Miss coming off a solid win over LSU, but Auburn's got a little drama surrounding Brian Harsin right now, but they are nice and rested coming off the bye. So I think it's clear that Ole Miss has an advantage at quarterback with Matt Corral, even if he isn't 100%. It looks solid against LSU, but man, we got to give Bo Nix some respect. He's been really solid this season. I mean, like suspiciously consistent. And you have to imagine that Auburn is going to try to run the ball right at Ole Miss. With Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter, it's a great tandem at back. Like, they have a physical group along the offensive line. They're going to want to control the clock, control the ball. It seems like it'll be one of those games where they're trying to keep Matt Corral and that offense that Jeff Lebby is just dialing up week in and week out. They're going to try to keep that group on the sideline and shorten the game a little bit. And I kind of could see them succeeding at doing that. Now, Ole Miss's defense is better, but it ain't great, man. So with 2 weeks to prepare, I think Auburn's defense shows up in a big way. And maybe they get a few stops when Ole Miss goes for it on fourth downs. That's Lane Kiffin's thing. And those plays can really swing momentum in the game. Jordan Hare, that stadium is going to be rocking. I think I like Bo Nix and Auburn. What is wrong with me, Ted?
I don't know.
I like Michigan and Auburn. What is happening?
Is Corral, is he healthy?
He did not look anywhere close to 100% in the LSU game to me. But, dude, he's one of those guys. I mean, he's reckless. He's always been reckless. He's going to continue to be reckless. But now he does have to think like he's got a future in football, right?
Yeah.
So is he as reckless as he once was in this game? And I'll tell you this, Auburn, they're not going to finish, you know, they may not be a top 3 team in the SEC West. They got dudes. You look at that defense, they've got big ass physical dudes.
Learn to slide, get down.
Corral, not a big slide guy.
Have you ever seen the movie Pre?
The running movie?
Yeah. Steve Prefontaine. You know how his big thing was he would go out really fast in a race and make people chase him, and eventually they would fall apart, wouldn't be able to hold that pace. That's what I see going on here. I think Ole Miss is going to pull Auburn into a shootout.
Ooh.
And I think that Bo Nix is going to make some mistakes and turn the football over. But I think that's what's going to happen. Ole Miss is comfortable in a high-scoring game, giving up points. A lot of these other SEC schools are not. It's not comfortable for these big physical defenses go out and give up a 50-burger in a football game. And that's what Ole Miss is trying to drag people into. And I think they're going to have success doing that with Auburn. I think Ole Miss gets the win. As long as Corral's smart with the football and he stays healthy during the game, I think Ole Miss wins it.
We are split on the first two. Look at us. All right, Texas at number 16, Baylor. Dude, I think this is going to be a great game. Both teams coming off a bye. And I interviewed Steve Sarkisian this week from a radio show, and it seems like they have been emphasizing finishing the last couple of weeks of practice with what happened against OU and what happened against Oklahoma State.
Which I wonder what that looks like, because you were talking about on the broadcast, like their pregame warm-ups looked like the middle of a training camp practice.
I'd never seen anything like it. Most intense warm-up I've ever seen for an offensive line and defensive line. I couldn't believe it. I was like, and then early in that OU game, I was like, well, one team was warming up and like they were ready to go smack someone in the mouth, and then they kind of ran out of juice. So I don't know.
Right.
But I really, and Texas is going to get some guys back off injury from what Sark said as well. So there's no doubt. I really like what I've seen from Baylor. But for whatever reason, Ted, I can't stop thinking about their game against Oklahoma State. And they just could not run the football against OSU in Stillwater. They couldn't. And I don't think Texas's defense is anywhere near as good as Oklahoma State's. But I could see Texas loading up on the run and forcing Gary Bohannon to beat them, throwing the football. Now, while I think RJ Sneed and Tyquan Thornton, Ben Sims, the tight end, I think he's got some good athletic targets there. I just don't know if that's a situation Gary Bohannon is going to thrive in. Like, his success as a passer is very dependent on them running that outside zone scheme well in a game. Like, go back and watch the Oklahoma State game. You saw his limitations as a passer when they couldn't run the football. So I like Texas in this game. I think Casey Thompson is going to bounce back and play some good football. Texas is going to have the best player on the field with Bijan Robinson. Now, it is my hope, Ted, that we get some one-on-one matchups between Bijan Robinson and Jalen Petrie. Jalen Petrie, for those of you that don't know, he plays nickel for Baylor. He might be Teddy and I's favorite player in all of college football. He is fantastic. He is a heat-seeking missile. They blitz him. He's great in coverage. He's physical. He can cover man-to-man, back, slots. He can do it all. He's awesome. I want to see him covering Bijan Robinson one-on-one, and I want to see Bijan having to pick him up in blitz pickup. I want to see that matchup. That's going to be fun. But I think this is going to be a great game. I really do. I'm leaning towards Texas. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Baylor won with the game being in Waco, but I think Texas, they got a little more on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. I'm going with Baylor. I think Baylor is just an all-around. They don't have many weaknesses. They're solid offensively. They are really balanced offense, running and pass. I think their average is like 240 yards a game rushing, and passing is just under. It's like 235. Bohannon doesn't turn it over. He's only thrown the one interception against BYU. Just really solid. Thornton at wide receiver is really good. They've done good with their backs, and defensively, their statistics aren't great as far as like yards given up, but people don't score a lot of points on them. Right. And they're right there in that group with Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. They're pretty much 1, 2, 3 in scoring defense and in a lot of the different categories. You can't get to the quarterback. They've only given up like 6 sacks on the year. Really hard to get to Bohannon. He's athletic enough to make you pay. I think they're a well-coached, all-around, solid football team. And I think if Texas goes out and plays their best offensively and their best defensively, I think they beat Baylor. But I think Baylor's level of play is way more consistent, and what you get from them, you kind of expect. I think Texas will have some peaks and valleys throughout the game, and it's that consistency that gives Baylor the win.
No, I'm with you. They've definitely been a more consistent team, and I've said it many times. Jeff Grimes' system, his offensive system, what they're doing at Baylor, probably my favorite system in all of college football. I love it. Love watching it. Love breaking it down. It's great.
And they're probably getting better at it too, as they go, as they get more experience. Bohannon hadn't had a whole lot of football whenever we had played, or whenever they played Oklahoma State earlier in the year. They were still just kind of getting rolling.
One of, maybe it's the main thing I point to pick Texas win this game. It's like, if they lose, they'll be 4-4. It's like, are they really going to be a 4-4 team? I don't know.
And they got Murderers Row coming.
Yeah, and I'm choosing to think that the team we saw against Oklahoma in the first half and the team we saw in the first 3 quarters against Oklahoma State, like that Texas is going to show up and that team's going to show up and put 4 quarters together. I don't know why I think that's going to happen. I think I'm an idiot for thinking it's going to happen, but it's just the way I feel, Ted. So we are a podcast divided, sir. 3 for 3. We're on opposite sides. Oh, this is the content. But
my picks have sucked this year, by the way. Just to say, warning.
If anyone, I would lean. Yeah, I would lean towards siding with me in this situation from what we've seen this season. But okay, last one. Don't got to spend a lot of time on it. Number 20, Penn State at number 5, Ohio State. Penn State have any chance, man? I mean, James Franklin's name is being mentioned for all the jobs, and he's clearly locked in. He only said his focus was on Illinois twice in his press conference when they're playing Ohio State. That was so weird. But their run defense, and I do think Penn State's defense has been solid this year, but their run defense got exposed against Illinois. They say that Sean Clifford is going to be 100% for this game. I don't believe them. We've talked a lot about it on here a lot. We've talked about it on here a lot. Ohio State is absolutely rolling right now. That's a big spread. It's 18.5 as we're recording this. But it seems like Ohio State's not going to have any problem with Penn State. Too much going on for the Nittany Lions. Ohio State's figured some things out defensively. I think they're going to absolutely get after Penn State.
Yeah, Franklin's going to be shocked when someone finally tells him that they lost in overtime to Illinois last week, not Ohio State. And when they land in Columbus, it's going to be like, wait, what happened?
Why
Maybe
are
I
we
should
here? And
maybe I
why
should.
does the other team have so many good players?
Yeah. I think Penn State is going to get absolutely rolled. I think they're a good football team. But I think right now everyone on that team is answering questions from their parents and friends. Is Franklin gone? Is he leaving? Is he going to go to USC? Is he taking that job? I mean, there's a lot of distraction going on right now. And frankly, I think James Franklin is distracted. And the way he's handled it has been terrible, honestly, whenever a microphone's in front of him when he gets asked that question.
Yeah. So we'll agree on that one. All Buckeyes. All right, let's get to